Welcome back to Real Talk Podcast, episode 182. I'm your host, Nathan, and I'm joined by the man himself, Matthew Neves, to my left.
Thank you. Thank you.
And today we are going to be reviewing a great movie. April Fools, we're reviewing
Yeah.
the Alto Knights.
Perfect timing. April 1st, we might as well make a review a movie that's a joke.
Yeah.
It's a fucking joke.
The Alto Knights, Neves has said that this is my Rebel Moon. I asked Neves to review this movie. I was interested in it
Yes.
because
Mhm.
it is Robert De Niro, one of the greatest actors ever.
Yep.
It is written by Nicholas Pileggi, who wrote
Mhm.
some of my favorite mob movies of all time, Goodfellas, Casino.
Yeah. Some fucking
This
heavy
is
hitters.
a formula. I'm a simple man.
Yeah.
You give me mob, you give me De Niro, I show up.
Yeah.
As simple as that. I
Even
don't
the
know
j-
if that makes me a film bro or whatever, but I'm a simple man. Like this is what I want to see.
Yeah.
Obviously, the crime genre is one that I'm a huge fan of,
Mhm.
and I think there's still room to make classics in the genre, like we saw with Irishman.
Exactly. I mean, even the director, Barry Levinson, not like the biggest heavy hitter, but he
No,
made some classics like
yeah,
Rain Man,
that's
Good
right.
Morning Vietnam. He even worked in the mob genre, like with Sleepers,
That's
also
right.
starring De Niro. So
Mhm.
it's like, I don't blame you for not wanting to see this
It's not that
because
it didn't have potential.
exactly.
Mhm.
So the general premise, though, of the Alto Knights, all I knew from it prior to it was De Niro playing two different characters. That was the gimmick, and
Right.
that's all it is. It's a gimmick.
It's just a gimmick. I Yeah, so this movie follows Frank Costello. This is based on a true story
Yeah.
of Frank Costello and Vito Genovese. If you know about like organized crime and like
Mhm.
the mob history, those are
Yeah.
two massive figures in that, and they're both played by Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Frank Costello is played by Robert De Niro, and Vito Genovese is played by Pesci De Niro, who's like a slightly slightly
Basically,
higher pitched Robert De Niro
that's
with
the effort.
glasses.
That's the effort that he's given for this, with a hat.
And yeah, basically it's about how they were childhood friends, and
Mhm.
then shit happens and they end up kind of hating each other.
Yeah. That's essentially the movie, and what is it? Frank Costello is trying to move away from the mob life. He tries to be an
Yes.
honest working man. He's like, "I'm done with this crime life." Whereas, Vito's like, "No, I'm the tough guy. I wanna own everything." It's the
Yeah,
opposites.
he's trying to play it like Michael Corleone in Godfather 3. He's like, I'm trying to go
Yeah.
legit. I want to, keep these good relationships with these politicians. I don't want to touch
Mhm.
the drugs.
Yeah.
I want to make my business as legit as possible. And Vito, who like had to go away for a long time
Yep.
and then had come back, feels like he has to make up for lost time, and
Right.
I guess doesn't realize that the times have changed
Yeah.
and is still acting in his old ways. He's more of like a Sonny Corleone archetype.
Very much so, the aggressive type, the tough one, out of the 2, and that's the issue is that we're mentioning a bunch of mob films because a lot of mob
That's all
films
we're gonna do this episode.
a lot of mob films have come to this territory before. It's been 50 years since we've gotten the classic crime movies like Godfather, Casino.
Yeah.
Irishman is the most recent one, but even Sopranos. Sopranos is like the modern day equivalent of this is the fucking standard, dude.
Oh yeah.
If you can't even reach this standard, don't even fucking bother
Mhm.
greenlighting the project. Which
Yeah.
is why I am so surprised that this movie even fucking exists. Because Nathan, what the fuck was this?
A generational waste of time
What the
and money.
fuck? It was lazy, it was rehashed, it was overall a boring and uninspired experience. That is my summarization of watching The Alto Kings. This felt longer than The Irishman.
I was just about to say that. This makes The Irishman feel short with how long this movie feels. It's just boring. It's not
Yeah.
poor filmmaking. It's not poor performances per se.
Mm.
It's just boring.
Yeah, it's lazy. I
Yeah.
feel like the word I would describe this is lazy because
Yeah.
there are shots in this film where I'm gonna be honest, it's lit really well.
Yes.
Like the beautiful it reminds me a lot of shots from like The Irishman of De Niro and stuff like that, which is why my review of this on Letterboxd was this is just The Irishman on Timu. It really is just a cheap version of somebody kind of remembering what The Irishman was. Like, oh yeah, I remember De Niro narrating. I remember him
Yeah, it's
being
like
old.
I watched that during the pandemic off an edible. Like
Yeah.
I can write another
I
version
can,
of
I
it.
can, I can. So it's like describe the Irishman for me. It's like, this is what it was.
He talks and then
He
they
talks.
show the story.
They show the story. You know, there's a couple actors in it that I think I remember from The Irishman. Yeah. The biggest down grade in terms of this movie was because the gimmick was De Niro playing two characters. Now, assuming that you're thinking, oh, they're going to be distinct enough that you can feel believed and everything like that.
One has glasses, one doesn't.
Oh my fucking God, man. And the way it's shot too. Wide shot, static, De Niro sitting like this and De Niro sitting like that.
Yeah.
It's like, Frank, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's like, Vito, I don't know what you're telling me what to do. It's like, it just sounds like you're talking to yourself.
It sounds like schizophrenia.
Yes.
It's fucking terrible. It's terrible. It's impossible to generate tension and stakes when it's just two old Robert De Niro's
That's
talking
all
to each
it
other.
is. That's all it fucking is. And the issue with that is, okay, fine. That's all you have.
Oh,
De
man.
Niro's performance in this is nothing. It really is nothing. It's kind of a clear indication that, De Niro, he's not 70s De Niro anymore. He's not 80s De Niro.
No.
If he ain't got Scorsese directing him, you gotta be careful.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of ad-libbing from him. I think they let him go in this movie,
especially him as Vito, dude.
and then it just felt like a lot of what do you
What are you doing? What are you doing? You gotta plead the fifth. You gotta plead. When the fuck did he plead the fifth? And it's like 10 minutes of that. I'm like, what? He's just yelling at a screen for 10 minutes.
Oh my God. Yeah, there's just like some bad dialogue that I'm like, that's improvised. There's no way you write that in a script.
Barry Levinson was just like, okay, remember Irishman? Remember that scene with the fish and stuff like that?
Yeah.
You smell the fish. Do that, but with the Mormon thing.
Right.
And it's like, what the fuck? Why the Mormons come here if they went to Utah? What the
Yeah.
fuck? You stupid motherfucker. I'm gonna kill you now. It's like, what? What is this?
What is this?
It just felt like padding. It just felt like padding for the movie, but the movie's 2 hours. Why the fuck do you need to make it longer if these scenes don't mean anything?
No.
There's no character arcs. There's no build up to these characters. It's essentially just like doing it for the sake of it.
In fact, there's few fucking characters that even get like anything.
Yeah, no.
There's just like old guys around.
Yes.
There's just old guys around. You don't know who they are. You don't know what their distinct personality traits are.
Yeah.
They're just old guys. You don't know like their rank in the mob. You don't know who does what. You just know two De Niros.
Yeah.
And then like the love interest, like a few side characters that get a little bit, but you never
Briefly.
care about any of them.
No. I think a great example of how the mob works and stuff like that, like the world building and stuff like that. Remember Casino? Remember you
Oh, I
followed
do.
that one guy and De Niro's
Yes.
narrating him? It was like, he takes all the fucking money. This is how it works. Boom, boom, boom. They're all amazing characters. The way it's edited, it's beautiful. One
Yeah.
shot.
It's a quick scene, but you know everything you need to know about the rankings, the day-to-day, and you understand that character, you can relate to him.
And you know the old guys too. Because remember the old guys group?
Of
You
course.
know what their role is. In ALTO KNIGHTS, they're just sitting there. What the fuck are they doing? They're just sitting on their ass, like being like, hey,
plead the fifth.
you're gonna plead the fifth. You're gonna plead, because if you don't, then you're gonna pinch us, you
my
motherfucker. It's like, what are
God.
we pinching you for? We don't like. I don't know what you guys do.
Yeah.
Do you guys just kill people? Do you rob banks? You're 85 years old. There ain't no way you're fucking robbing banks.
There's brief conversations about him like getting into drug sales, but none of it's ever like shown or flushed out. It's just bad.
I think what I found out too, because the budget of this film was 45 million. Now that's fairly mid-budget
Yeah.
for a movie like this. Irishman, for example, cost over 100 million.
Yeah.
And you can tell in terms of them chronicling De Niro from his like early stage to his later stage. This one,
Oh, the pictures of old Robert De Niro.
it's JPEG files, Nathan. They just put a JPEG file, black and white, and zoomed in on a poorly photoshopped
Yeah.
young De Niro, both of them.
He looked different in every single picture. Like,
Yeah.
it looked like a different person.
I was like, who the fuck am I looking at? Oh, that's supposed to be young De Niro?
I'm like, Every other photo, I'm like, is that? Wait.
The worst was when they, couldn't afford the Prohibition era shot, so they're like, "Oh, let's just do a black and white and zoom in,"
Yeah.
and then they cut to, like, them recreating it, and it's the most pathetic looking, like,
Oh.
reflect. Oh, the worst was when he's like, "Oh, you know, me and my wife when we first met," and then they're dancing, and it reminded me of Ferrari, remember?
Oh, that was bad.
The Ferrari where it's like they use the old footage in the background, green
Yeah.
screen, and they're dancing, and it's like, "Hey, toots, how you doing today?" And it's just 2 of them dancing. There's
Yeah.
nobody else behind
It
them. There's
makes no sense.
oh my god.
It makes no sense. And
The
then they just decide to like fade to black a lot randomly.
oh, that gave me Amelia Perez
Bro,
vibes. Remember
that
Amelia
shit was
Perez? They were just like, "Oh, this scene's boring. Okay, bye." It's like, "What? Wait,
next.
next? Are we done with this scene?" I guess we are. Fuck. Like I couldn't believe it. Another issue with this film is that you don't really have an understanding of Frank and Vito's relationship because them as children is not covered at all. It's just pictures.
No.
So
We
what
used to do crazy stuff.
remember the days we used to do crazy yeah, why didn't you fucking show that in this movie, dude? That would have
Yeah.
been nice. Get some younger actors.
Yeah.
You're telling me you couldn't hire younger actors to play De Niro and De Niro? Like like fucking what?
Yeah, that would have been a great idea. Just fucking recast them and shoot a couple scenes where they get into something and
Something.
you understand their friendship. You understand, you see a moment where they were there for each other.
Yeah.
And then when they turn on each other, it actually means something.
Exactly. A great example of this in terms of more modern day because it's the 20th anniversary is Star Wars Episode 3. Obi-Wan and Anakin. The beginning of that film, you understand their friendship, you understand their relationship before they kill Dooku. Boom. All
Boom.
right? And that's a Star Wars film, guys. Everyone makes fun of Star Wars. Oh, the Star Wars. It's like you can do it.
Yeah. Of
You can
course you
do it
can.
for X-Men First Class, you know, with the superhero genre. As long as these two characters, you have an understanding of their relationship, they're friends.
Yeah.
They're good time friends. They've had an experience together. You don't get that in Alto
You
Knights. They're
get a
just grumpy
couple of
old men.
garbage black and white pictures and people just talking about it. And like there's this scene where the climax of this movie, if you call it a climax,
Yeah.
is a bunch of fat guys running in the forest. Like this is not it's not real.
It's pathetic.
So all the mobsters are supposed to go to this meetup.
Yeah.
I mean, spoiler alert, but like you shouldn't watch this fucking movie anyway.
This is us ranting.
All the mobsters, they gotta come. We gotta have a meeting. We haven't done it since the Lucky Luciano days.
Yeah.
We gotta we gotta get together and have a meeting to settle all this shit, okay? And we're gonna go to this farm, this like secluded farm.
Timbuktu, yeah.
There's like 50 mobsters coming from every state in the world,
everyone's there.
every state in the states, and then
Yeah.
and everyone gets together and they're driving to the spot.
Yep.
And
It takes forever.
it takes forever. It's the
Holy
most dragged out
fuck,
scene
man.
ever. And I was gonna say De Niro's like, but there's two fucking De Niros.
There's two different.
Frank is like, let's stop for a coffee. Let's stretch my legs. Let's fucking do this.
Which already you know what his ill intention is.
Right.
Because the film explains that. He's like, I want to leave here. I don't like the
Yeah.
mob life. So what's the plan? He's going to be late so that the cops get everyone else but him.
Right.
You know that already.
Well, before that scene, it's like the dialogue in the car is so fucking bad.
It's bad.
The driver's like, it's like they have to recap everything. The driver's like, oh, you guys used to be friends. You guys used to do so much. Now this is fucked up. I'm like, this is not real dialogue.
Frank, what's going on here? I don't like the look of this, Frank.
Oh,
What's going on here, Frank?
wasn't that like a video game fucking like AI character that just keeps talking?
Yeah.
Like you keep interacting with and he keeps saying the same lines?
It's like the Godfather game that
When they
we
see the
played.
cop, Frank, I don't like this, Frank. What did you do, Frank? Like a whole.
Oh, who directed this? A robot? Like, it
This
really
is-
does feel like that, man.
Oh my! I could not believe it. Like I can't believe I'm this critical of this movie because I'm like such a fucking simple guy when it comes to a mob movie. Like, just give me something decent and I'll be like, great, I loved it.
But it's, you know what? We've been spoiled, Nathan. Not
Yeah.
even spoiled. I think because the mob genre, crime genre, it is the highest it's ever been. You can't, like, you have to have these expectations, you know? Like, when
Yeah,
I think
man.
of a mob meeting, I think of, remember the scene from Sopranos at the very end when they're talking about Frank? And it's at that
Yeah.
cold little warehouse and it's blue tinted and stuff, and they're all freezing. And it's like, does anybody want any water? It's beautiful. The dialogue is beautiful. They're talking about Bobby's death and stuff like that. And it's like, how do we handle this? It's cold-blooded.
Yeah.
You don't get an ounce of fucking emotion like that in this 2-hour
Yeah.
fucking movie, man.
It's not clever at all. Yeah, like when I think about, you're right. When I think about legendary mob meeting scenes, there needs to be a massive payoff. It needs to be cleverly written.
Yeah.
I think of Tom Hagen and Frankie Five Angels outside of the prison,
Dude.
where it's so cleverly written that they don't talk about what happened at all.
Yeah.
They just give metaphor,
Mhm.
and you completely understand what happened.
Exactly. It's beautiful. I got a question for you, Nathan. That scene, how many camera setups were in that scene alone? How many can you think? It felt like one, right?
It felt like just one, the two shot of them, like
Yeah.
behind with the fence. Yeah.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. You don't need 50,000 cuts, like the beginning of this movie.
Oh,
Can we talk about the beginning of this movie where Frank is walking into a hotel and the guy's like, "Hey, Frank," and then he shoots him, and then you have 60 cuts
Yeah,
that I thought I was gonna throw up, Nathan.
I know. I was already worried in the first scene of this film.
The editing is awful.
Yeah.
The editing is some of the worst. They don't let any shots breathe. They don't let any of these actors breathe when they're acting. You need them to breathe because if you don't, then it just is awkward and you're not giving them credit. They're giving bad performances if the editing is this shit,
Yeah.
you know?
It's really bad. I don't understand this movie at all, man. Like why do you think they tried the De Niro two parts? Do you think that was just like to get De Niro to do it? It's like some incentive, like something he hasn't done yet?
Maybe. I know Barry Levinson and De Niro have worked a lot together as of like recently.
Yeah.
They've worked I think they started together in Sleepers back in 96. So later in De Niro's career.
Mhm.
And ever since then, I think he's worked with De Niro like 4 or 5 times. So it's like, "Oh, Barry Levinson, you're a good time friend. I've known you. What do you want me to do?" It's like, "I want you to play 2 different characters." Like De Niro's like, "I've never done that before. I did
What's the
Irishman."
thought process behind that? Like, why do you think that's gonna make this a better film? I
It doesn't. Unless you have a more clear direction, and I don't think this movie does. I feel like this movie just was like, "Oh, well, The Irishman came out. Let's try something similar with technology." But they don't do anything interesting with that. Because The Irishman, I'll be honest, the most critical thing I could say about that film is De Niro at 30 years old is not 30-year-old De Niro.
yeah,
It's sad.
no.
So, but they work around that. They have a intriguing character still.
The film is so good
Yeah.
that you can immerse yourself in this world and believe it.
Exactly. The issue is if you can't, you get Alto Knights,
Yeah,
where the
man.
technology is just it's very bad.
It just looks like he's wearing crazy prosthetics as both characters,
yeah.
which it doesn't really work well for me. The supporting cast here, they're just like, who's still alive from Sopranos?
We got 3.
We
Did you find the 3? Do you know the 3 I'm talking about?
we got 3. Okay, so we have
Okay.
Artie Bucco's wife.
Adi Bucco's wife. Yeah, yeah.
We have the cop.
Yep. The agent, FBI agent. He's
yeah.
the lawyer to Frank, I believe.
That's right.
And the third one, he's a little older now. Richie Aprile Sr. He plays Frank's guy that's like, "Let me kill him, Frank. Let me do
Of
this."
course.
Yeah.
It's Richie Aprios. Oh,
Right?
God.
I
yeah.
know. But the sad thing is he gives a pretty good speech with Frank's other guys. It's like, "Why can't we fucking kill this guy?" and stuff like that. And it's like that's a good performance
Yeah.
if it was a minute shorter. But they let him keep going and the editing doesn't do him any favors and it just looks pathetic at the end.
Blocking of that. It's just such a weird scene.
Oh my god.
It's such a weird scene. It comes out of nowhere. And yeah, you're right. It's just
Cuz he's doing a good job.
Almost a good scene.
It's almost a good scene and then the way it ends is just like him and then he just turns around and walks away. It's like it's awkward.
Yeah, it's awkward.
And then he dies. Then he just
And then he
dies and
dies.
anticlimactic. Like I don't know, like
In a
everything.
barbershop sequence that I did not care about.
No,
I'm trying to think of a sequence that I liked in this movie.
I'd be surprised if you could, man, because I thought this movie was such a drag. I was like, part of me was like, I'm willing to just open my phone and check the apps, Nathan. Like at a certain point, because nobody was in the fucking theater.
Oh yeah. This
No,
movie's gonna bomb.
this is
man.
opening weekend.
I saw it with about 10 people in a theater. Yeah.
What was your showtime again? What time?
I saw it 10 p.m. But
10 p.m.
Still, it's a Saturday night.
That's what I mean. Saturday night, 10 p.m. Mine was 3 p.m. Saw like 3 people in the front row.
Yeah.
So they probably were taking the nap of their lives, man. Like I don't fucking see them. I'm gonna see the box office for Alto Knights. It made $1 million opening day. This movie cost 45 million.
Yeah, they're cooked.
They're cooked.
They are cooked. And I think the sad thing is that this might even set the mob genre back. Like, I think people are going to be scared to make a mob movie now.
I it's expectation. If this is
Yeah.
if you ain't Irishman, if you ain't Casino, if you ain't Godfather, if you ain't Scarface,
Yeah, you should be scared because we're going to compare it to those fucking movies. And if you don't have something new to say, you're going to make one of these.
it's like people being like, "Oh, you know, like the Ghostbusters remakes." Like, yeah, no shit, we're going to compare it to the better one.
Right.
What the fuck were you expecting? Like, this is a genre that has so much iconic moments, so many classic scenes, and especially if you bring in actors from Sopranos, from Casino, from a
Yeah.
bunch of these, yeah, we're gonna compare it because it's like these actors are good actors. We've seen them in good movies and shows. So
Yeah.
when I see them in this and they suck, part of me is like, they were probably given no direction.
Yeah. They weren't. Like they
The courtroom scene. Remember the courtroom
Oh,
scene with the
wow.
wife, and she just keeps on yelling and stuff. And it's like I don't feel any emotion because it's just dragging on. And De Niro's like, hey, what do you this lady's crazy.
She's sick.
She's
This
sick.
lady.
She's sick. Okay. What about her? She's sick. Look, she's just talking. She can't talk.
Just bad dialogue. They're not gonna be arguing back and forth in a courtroom like that. Like, just the world just didn't feel. I just didn't buy into it.
It doesn't feel like the 1950s either.
No,
It
it
felt
doesn't.
like a student film of the
Yeah.
1950s, and it's that's the issue. Is
And I just can't believe this climax. I'm gonna go back to this.
go
Like,
back to it, man.
I cannot believe that this was their idea of a climax. All of these mob bosses meet up, and that has potential.
Yeah.
We have this big meeting with all the. They're going one step from the heads of the 5 families
Yep.
in Godfather, and they're like, we're the heads of every fucking family that there is in the
Mhm.
United States
Yeah.
coming together. I'm like, okay, this has potential to be like a crazy sit down.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get it.
Nope.
Because one guy sees a cop.
Mm-hmm.
They're all doing nothing. They're all
Yeah,
just eating
they're just
fucking
chilling.
gabagool, standing outside, and then they all run,
Yep. Oh no, the cops.
which just doesn't seem like
No.
their characters. Then they're all in the car giving attitude to the cops, like, it's like, so why'd you run if you
Yeah.
had nothing to hide?
Exactly.
They all just run through the forest. You never get the meeting that you want, them coming together, either making peace or
Yeah.
not.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the end of the movie. And we're supposed to be okay with, like, oh, he set this up.
There isn't even a shot where Frank looks at Vito getting arrested or getting caught and stuff, and they eye to eye each other, and Vito's like, "You clever son of a bitch, you
Yeah,
got
like,
me."
at least that.
Checkmate, you
At
know?
least that. There's
No.
zero payoff.
No, there is literally no relationship between Vito and Frank. You see them together for like 5 minutes in this 2-hour movie. Is that not insane?
Yeah.
That's insane. I only remember 2 interactions they had together in a scene, and they're just bitching at each other.
Yeah.
They're like, "Fuck you, Frank. Fuck you, Vito. Okay, I'm leaving. Bye."
And the whole film is about their relationship going sour.
It's insane. It's insane how that's your tentpole and you're giving it nothing.
And then you get this weird, like, scene of them sitting in jail.
Oh god,
Oh,
the
my
epilogue.
God, the
fu-
epilogue was. This epilogue is fucking trash.
Why do you? Part of me wonders. De Niro talking to the camera, was that like a clear decision because of Irishman? It feels
Oh,
like it.
yeah, he narrates from 2 different locations, which are never explained. There's
Nope.
absolutely no reasoning for it. In Irishman, you get
He's at a
why he-
nursing home.
Exactly, and he's talking. Yeah, we understand it. No, he's just in a park, and then he's also watching still pictures
Still
of
pictures.
his life,
Yeah.
which is never explained why he's doing that.
got these still pictures because we couldn't afford to film it in the movie. Check it out. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is the laziest form of filmmaking I've ever seen. Just explain. Show, don't tell.
Yeah,
This
man.
movie should have learned from that phrase. Show, don't tell. This movie tells everything, and I don't feel anything because you don't show it. You don't. Like,
I can't believe it.
I feel bad too because De Niro, hot take, he's got a great career. He has given amazing performances throughout his life. Not even just like, we compare the 70s and 80s, but even recently, like Killers of the Flower Moon.
Every decade.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
He was evil in Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic performance.
Mm-hmm.
He can still act.
He can still act given good direction, given a clear direction. If you're given nothing, no matter how talented you are as an actor, even De Niro, you watch Alto Knights, and you can tell he was given no direction.
Yeah.
He was confused. The one thing I could say about his performance is he just looks confused and doesn't know what to do. So he's like, I know what Pesci did. Hey, what are you fucking doing? He's just yelling. What is that? That's not a character. Just because you fucking yell in a movie does not mean you have a character.
Yeah.
De Niro doesn't yell in Killers of the Flower Moon, and you feel the intensity still.
Yeah. There's just not a lot of redeeming qualities about the Alto Knights, I'm gonna be completely honest.
It sucks.
It sucks. It got a 38% critic score.
That's still fucking high in my books.
It's a bit yeah, that's kind of where I put it, but
Okay.
mostly just because like I'm just such a sucker for the mob genre that it's like you give me the bare minimum and I'm like, okay, but this is less than the bare minimum
This is
for
very
me.
much, yeah. And again, like you said, when it comes to crime dramas and stuff like that, is this what we're going to be comparing it to? No, we're going to be talking about Scorsese and Coppola's work. We're going to be
Yeah.
talking about the directors that actually had a clear vision of what they wanted out of these characters. If you're into the mob history and stuff, watch the fucking documentaries, man. Do
Yeah.
not watch this film.
No.
This
This is such a forgettable film.
you don't know anything about it. You're not educated on who Vito and Frank are. To me, I don't know anything about Bob history. All I know is Vito and Frank were two old Italian guys that yelled at each other, and
Yeah.
one of them went to jail, and the other one kind of.
Dead ass. We don't know shit. All right, the Alto Knights.
That was a good rant.
Final review. What are you giving this film?
I'm giving this film a 2 out of 10. This is the worst film I've seen this year currently, Nathan. Fuck me, dude. I'm sorry. The more I think about it, the more I'm just like, this might be one of the worst mob films I've seen because of how
Yeah.
lazy it is. I'm not gonna remember this
Stinker.
film in like a week from now.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 10,
Mhm.
2 stars.
Fair enough. You got something more
One and
out
a
of
half.
it.
Yeah, that's all I got, man. I don't
Yeah.
know. I got a little bit more out of it, but I'm just like at the point where it's like I still just love to see De Niro like do anything. I'm just, he's one of my favorite actors of all time. I love to
Yeah.
see him do anything, but it was hard to watch him with no direction here try to do this thing that just really didn't work. The Alto Knights is a skip, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it really is. A lesson to many people. If you have a great actor like De Niro, Pacino, Pesci, or even more modern actors, doesn't matter. If you're not giving them any direction, it's gonna be shit.
Yeah, the formula is not as simple as you think.
No, exactly.
Yeah. Thank you for watching this episode of the Real Talk Podcast. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe to your boys. It means the world to us. And we'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Brush your hair.
Peace.